title speaks of joy. How do you define joy in the context of service, and why is it important?
Listen, Gail, anybody could tell you I love my job. I love what I do. I have been manager of food and beverage services at the Office of the Parliament for 17 years. Prior to that was Cape Rock Hotel for 9 years, where I was dining room manager for both restaurants. And it doesn't matter. For me as a manager, I roll up my sleeve. I think if you find pride in what you do and that passion, Gail, I just love to serve. And there was no other name fitting for service than the joy. Because once you love what you do, it's not even work anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. So was this book shaped by your personal experiences?
It definitely was. It's over the years, like I said, is the level of inconsistent service that people receive. But last year, July, Hotel School Tobago reached out to me to conduct, to facilitate classes, Accelerate Your Ambition, where they were training persons for hospitality industries in Tobago, hotels, guest houses and stuff. And one of the things that I had to teach was the professional food server, but there was absolutely no book on it. There was nothing on it.
Okay.
And I started to document, and I had my staff every day coming and we role playing and documenting and writing. And I said, no, I have to get this right.
Yeah. So at what point of your career did you realize this was a passion? Because based on what you're saying, you know, the joy of serving, in order to serve well, you have to have a love for it, a joy for it, a passion for it.
I think I often say it's from small. I always love serving. From small, any family gatherings, I'm always there helping. You get invited, but I go in people's kitchen, helping, serve. It's just something. I love to see people smile. I love to exceed. I love to exceed expectations. You know, when they pay attention to emotional intelligence, people, they can tell, something wrong. What can I do to brighten that person's day?
Yeah.
And that is where it came from. So that was from small, probably about 10 years.
Yeah. Can you give us one specific example from your expansive career where, you know, you would have felt like this is what I love to do?
I think when I started to train, when I was at Hotel School Tobago and I went to Cocoa Reef as a trainee, when I got there, of course, being Trinidadian, was just two of us, 2 students went. And when I started to actually work in the industry and serve persons, I said, this is me. This is it, yeah. So it wasn't even about being a manager at that point. I didn't want to stay in the office. I wanted to come down and pour tea and pour coffee and say good morning and take reservations. Yeah, that's when I knew this is there. This is for me.
So, okay, let's talk about some of the key takeaways or the themes of the book, right? So, key principles or messages that you hope readers would take away from it once they begin reading or on completion.
Think once the book was designed, it was intentional. The size of the book, it is easy to put into your handbag. It's like a coach. Every aspect of service in the hospitality industry, every aspect, from taking a reservation to presenting a bill, it's written as a documented guide, step by step. So if it is that you're unsure of how to approach, you open the book, it tells you what to do, step by step. Go to the customer, say good morning, identify yourself, the time of day, because I hate people to say good day. There's nothing like good day. It's good morning, it's good afternoon, it's good evening. And those little things do matter.
Yes.
It just makes you the professional that, you know, you want to be. People see you differently.
Yes.
Because let's be real, in the service industry, a lot of persons look at it more as servitude, that obligation to serve, instead of I get to do this, I love doing this. And then people will respect you differently. Yes,
it's more or less treated as this is, I'm coming to work, this is my job.
And let me just do it and go. And that's it. And I never want persons in the industry to feel that way.
So how do you think persons in the industry can raise the standard of their work? And I know attitude will play a big part, but how can they, you know, how can the standard of their work or their attitude increase to better serve the customer?
I think it's a skill. So a lot of times persons open a restaurant or you buy a food truck. It's prettiest design, decor, ambience, but they take persons, unskilled persons, and just put them in that space. What would you expect? If you don't train, you see, if that's skilled, if you want to be better at your job, it's just to learn and develop yourself. You don't have to wait for the employer to do it. It's about bettering yourself, to getting the skills. So the book is actually showing you, it's a guide for the skills for you to be better. Because if you want to be just like you, for your job, you can't just sit and say, oh, well, I'm just going to be a journalist and I'm going. No, you want to do things every day that will put you in a better position.
Yes.
It's just like me. So apart from doing this, that's why I went and do etiquette training. And not just at the American School of Protocol, but with Burma etiquette, with the Eileen Donahue from Ireland. You want to really people to understand the concept of service and why it's important.
How do you see the connection between service and personal growth or personal development?
In any industry, is service. And personal development plays an important role. Even if I tell all my employees, even if you come in as a server at the bottom of the barrel, it doesn't mean you stay there. Once you, everybody's an academically inclined, which is understood. Everybody's not that. But everybody has a chance and a potential to succeed. There's so many courses you can do for your own personal development, which will help you, because once you see you grow mentally and you grow emotionally, of course, you will grow anyhow you put in any industry you go into. It's just about taking the time and investing in you as a person.
Yes, you have to have the drive and the care. You have to
Of
care about
course,
yourself. I think, yeah.
You have to. It's just about doing that, caring about who you are and the job that you're doing and loving what you do.
Yes. So I think, we're kind of, the food or service industry would have evolved in a sense. And now we're kind of in an era of fast food and technology. So, how can we preserve the human touch in hospitality when it comes to these fast food or, food chains, these interactions where you're in a drive-through ordering, or you go to an outlet, a food outlet, and you have to make an order? That is still, to me, you still have to be hospitable.
Of course, and it still have to be professional, not just hospitable, but professional. It doesn't matter. It could be a fast food. And even for the new person that's opening a food truck, that human interaction. Good morning, how can I help you? We have this, and it's not, we don't have this today, but give us a solution. We don't have, but what I can tell you, we have this. Would you like to try? It's just about giving suggestions, just about having that, again, if you love what you do, it is not that you're working hard, and that is the thing. So food trucks, restaurants, doctor's offices, anywhere there's a interaction with persons, oh gosh, just stop and say hi, good morning.
Yes.
Your brand, you're the ambassador for the place that you're working.
So this book, it touches on all those aspects, not just restaurants, but as you said, the food trucks, the fast food chains.
Everybody that in the food industry, every person that is in the food industry. I mean, I would love, my dream is to see persons when you go, listen, we go out, my sisters say, can you not say anything today? And I say, I would really try. And you go on, and there's so many restaurants, you may go, you expect that, your expectations are low, because when you walk in, they're congregating. They turn it's like you're bothering them. Hi, it's like, hi, any service, what's going on? It's like, I didn't want to call the restaurants. And I can go right now on the same, and this is a huge food chain.
Yeah.
Why? Why is it you can't stop and know there's no congregating at the front? And your most important person is your guest. Why?
Yes. Yeah. So I know, okay, so your book targets the server, the professional server. What about the customer? Because I think, do you think in the Caribbean, our servers receive enough respect for their work by the customer, and if how can that perception be changed if not?
I think so. That's a really interesting question, because I often say if you do your job with that level of pride and professionalism, people would treat you as such, as that professional that you are. But if you come and you give mediocre service and you don't care, why should I treat you? Why in somebody else's mind, why should they treat you with some level of respect? You don't respect me as a customer. And that is it. So I think once you do your job with that level of professionalism, you can't tell me nobody would respect you for that.
I think, sometimes there are cases where the customer might come in with already a bad attitude, and it's up to the server, the person serving you to keep a level of professionalism, decorum, but sometimes that's hard for people.
And it takes
it's
a
about
special and
suppressing your emotions and realizing, okay, I have a job to do, but I think serving is one of the most underrated jobs, underrated things that you can do, because dealing with people is not always easy.
It isn't. But at the end of the day, like even when I trained a restaurant last week, and I was telling the servers, yes, but some customers, they're so challenging. I say, yes, it takes a special kind of person to be a server. And once you understand your job, I mean, there are times in your head you say, oh God, I can't deal. But nobody should ever see that on your face.
Yes.
So even if I don't like how I'm being treated when I come at that level, I would still maintain that level of professionalism. And if it's really difficult, then you get somebody else to handle it, bring the manager, get them involved. But you never, never, never show disrespect to your guests at no point in time.
Is it true that the customer is always right?
I do. So I'm an owner. I own House of Tea in Arima. And I have had instances where I had to put customers out because you're really being disrespectful to staff. And you're being difficult and you're being challenging. And it's when challenging is one thing, but disrespectful to staff for no reason, no. Yes, the customer, people say on one hand, the customer is always right because they're the person that pay our bills. All right? Without customers coming, we have no business.
Yeah.
But at the same point in time, as a manager, you have to understand, or owner of a place, you have to understand, no, they're not always right. And you have to stand up for your staff as well. So you can go and have a conversation with that customer and let them know, okay, I understand how you feel, but this is the guideline. This is how we manage this place.
Yes.
But it's about having conversation and really communicating with the person.
Right. So what advice would you give to young people entering the field who may not see this as a long-term career?
Listen, I don't understand. Hospitality is a career. I have been here 31 years. And it's something I love, and I can't see myself doing anything different. Even at Parliament, you know, where I'm not supposed to serve, I'm still serving and pointing for members. I love what I do. I would tell persons, even if it's a stepping stone, make it one of the best stones to step on. Because this is only going to help you in your future. Really. Be the professional that you can be. It's a blessing to serve persons, you know. Not everybody could do it. To take a job with that level of pride, listen, it'll take you places you know. I live by a quote that says, good manners can open doors, the best education cannot. I live by that quote. It's by Clarence Thomas. And I wish people to understand it. If you understand your job, nobody can look at you and you can't see yourself as just being it's an obligation to serve.
Yes.
No, it's something you get to do.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, so do you, can you give us a little excerpt from your book, read one or two lines?
From it?
Just to give the viewers an idea of what
it is?
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about, I'll tell you one of the things that I hate. So, as servers, I often think we need to polish up ourselves, right? So I have, in part of the book, is instead of saying, try saying. So one of the things that we love to say is, yeah, 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 sure. And one of the things you could say, certainly. It just sounds so much more professional and so much more tasteful. We like to say, no problem. No problem is a problem. So if I'm asking somebody, say, no problem, why can't I just say, certainly, ma'am? I can get that for you.
Yeah.
There are things, sign here. You could sign here. Can you just approve? It's just making you the more polished person and the more professional person. I believe it's in the greeting time, like I said. I have a problem when people come and say, good day. There's nothing like good day. It's good morning, it's good afternoon, it's good evening. And it tells you why. Good morning from the time 12:01 to 11:59. It's just things that would really help us truly better ourselves.
It's in the detail.
It's the detail.
Yes.
It's paying attention to the small things that people overlook.
Yeah.
You know, and the communication, why it's important to watch customers in the eye and to smile. And how it's so important for you to understand that even when you're on the phone, I'm sure sometimes you call a friend and they say, what happened to you today? Why are you sounding like that? They haven't seen you. But just from the tone of your voice, they understand that something is wrong. So all that in telephone etiquette, it tells you, no, you have to have a warm smile. Even when you pick up the phone, you have to smile. You can hear a smile. You know? So those are the things that's in the book. I mean, your parents, a major sin of a server is leaving somebody with a menu in their hand for too long. It makes them feel that you're not interested
Yes.
or just not acknowledging. So it tells you why not to do things and what you should do.
Yes, I think these are little things that we know. When we hear it, we're like, oh yeah, I know that, but we don't necessarily, we're not aware
Correct.
of how important it is.
Correct.
Yeah.
You're very correct. And it's, like I say, it's every aspect, attributes of a great server, not just a good server, but a great server. It's about being knowledgeable, about having that positive attitude, you know, about being organized, punctual. You have to understand, if the restaurant opens at 6 and it's supposed to be there at 5:30, and you come at 6, you're late.
Yeah.
You come at 5:30, you're late because it takes time for you to put on your bag, to go. And you can't tell a guest, well, Shamina's late today, so no, they don't want to hear that.
Yes.
No. And those things is what makes you and separates you from the other person.
I agree. So let's talk a little bit of the writing of the book. So what was the writing process like for you, and were there any challenges?
But I think for me, honestly, because I've been this in 35, it's easy to role play and do it. So for me, what I would have done with my staff, I would have had them there role playing. No, change our tablecloth. No, that's not the first thing. The first thing, they put one over. And just documenting. Then I had to do a PowerPoint for the students.
Yeah.
And from the PowerPoint, I had a team of persons and came together and summarized it and started to write down. Because remember, most times food servers are persons who didn't do academically well in school. Let us be real.
Okay.
All right? It doesn't mean that they can't have a lucrative business. It doesn't mean that they can't achieve. I have staff who works with me part-time. They're presently employed at great hotels. And they will tell you their service charge alone, sometimes $7,000 a fortnight.
Yeah, wow.
I have a staff who tips for Carnival alone was $22,000.
Wow.
So, and that happened because she's great at what she does. So these are people I would have taken and sat with, and no, that's not it. So it was days and hours, and they probably was getting upset. Yeah. So they had no idea what I was doing. Yeah. But I was just, no, from the beginning, let's do this over. No, I'm missing a step. That is not what you do. Walk out that door, come back in. You pretend you're the receptionist. No, that is incorrect. It took hours and days and months, but that was the process. And I had a great team around me. I had Leah and Ebony who would have, really kind of put it together after I would have sent everything forward. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you have, is this book, the one and only? Do you have plans to create more in the future?
I definitely want to do one on etiquette because I am big on etiquette and customer service. Even though I train, I specialize in food and beverage management, of course, training persons for the industry, to be a consultant for restaurants and stuff. I also do a lot of work with customer service because, well, I told you my pet peeve for customer service and bad customer service. And I don't believe it's either it's bad or it's good. Yes. There's no middle, there's no gray line in between. No, it's either it's good customer service or bad customer service.
I think I can say when the customer service is bad, it ruins the entire experience
of course.
Of just sitting down and dining and eating. And it really, I think the other day recently, I was at a restaurant and I was by myself. I took myself out. It was just one of those things. I'm like, I'm going to take myself out. And I remember being on the phone with my friend afterwards because she asked me, how did it go? And I'm like, that was the worst experience of my life because I was alone and I didn't have anybody to talk to share the experience with. So obviously I'm way more aware of what's happening around me, of how the waitresses and waiters are treating me, just the service all around. And it was the worst experience of my life. I wouldn't say where I was, but it was just, I felt it. I was like, I didn't enjoy it. Even eating the food was great, but the experience overall was just horrible. Like the wait time was long. I think the restaurant was busy as well, so that could have been a factor, but it was just...
But let me ask you, would you go back there again?
Alone, no.
And that's my point. I often say, you can have the best food and customer service isn't good, you would hardly ever go back.
Yeah.
You could have great customer service and the food wasn't good, we make an excuse for the chef and say, today was a bad day in the kitchen, probably. Because the service was so good, you're going to go back.
Yes.
And people don't understand. When you understand that, that is what makes a difference.
Yeah, because I think as a customer, you might if you go to dinner with friends or family, having conversation, being with people that you enjoy being around, you kind of dismiss or you don't necessarily realize how the customer service is at the point in time. So being by myself, I think that's where I was like, what, like I've never come here and it was this bad. Or maybe I just didn't realize it was this bad.
Exactly.
You know?
Because you're always you're conversing with someone, so you don't realize you wait time for the food. You don't realize, they haven't even acknowledged us yet.
Yes.
You don't realize because the conversation is so good.
Yes.
But that is my problem, my customer service. So even at my establishment, House of Tea, is something I pay great attention to. Because I often say, you see, from that time you pick up that telephone to make that reservation, that customer, even if they don't want to come on that day, they must want to come some other time because you were so kind and so polite and so knowledgeable.
Yes, and I think too, if when you call to make a reservation, if they're not polite on the phone or you're not hearing, it sounds like they're stressed. It sounds like they're having a bad day. You kind of, now your entire perception now
changes.
Yeah, and by the time you get to the restaurant, you're like, I don't want to be here anymore. I've experienced that. It's
expectations,
true.
you already have lowered the expectations. You don't expect anything great there.
Yes.
And that was the reason. So even in every aspect of my journey in doing etiquette, where I train for etiquette because I believe every person deserves and have to understand etiquette is for everyone.
Yes.
It's not just for what school you go to, it's for all schools, it's for every person in every walk of life.
Yes.
So merging the etiquette together with the training, with the customer service, I said, no, I have to.
It was much needed.
Yeah, it is needed.
Yes. So where can we get this book? Where can we find the book?
Presently, we have it at House of Tea. So you can get it at House of Tea in Arima. You can call, what's House of Tea number? I'll have to give the number. I don't remember it offhand. As well as it's going to be in bookstores from next week. Okay. So, yeah, and it's on Amazon.
Okay. What bookstores do you,
Well, we're going to have a series, Gil. I'm not sure. We're going to have a whole suite of bookstores.
Okay.
It's just me to pinpoint. But definitely we're going to have it in bookstores as of next week.
Do you have a cost point?
It's going to be between $200 and $230. Getting it from House of Tea is going to be $200. I think the bookstore is probably going to have it for $230. But yes. So and Amazon is, I think, like 22 something. But it's a soft copy.
We got the number for House of Tea. So it's 728-3081.
Thank you.
Yes. So if you are interested in getting the book, can I?
Of course.
Yeah. So this is the book. If you are interested in getting this book, The Joy of Serving, you can contact House of Tea 728-3081, and that would, and you can order a book. Like Shameen said, it would be in bookstores soon from next week, from next week, maybe like this week, Wednesday. Right, and the cost starts at $200, or you can order the book on Amazon. So I think we ought to really have a look at the book. The cover, everything feels, it feels great in the hand, especially. So this is something I have not seen before. So well done. I really do think that this is much needed, because not even in the food industry, but just customer service on the whole, in retail, in malls, and there's this thing that Trinidadians have, like with Pennywise customer service. Even that alone, oh my gosh, people talk about it. It's something, and to say that it's trending, I don't know if persons feel like it's cool, it's funny. Yeah. Because we make jokes about it all the time, but it's so important. And I personally deal with people on a daily, and not just here, but with my mom. She has a swim school, so we're constantly dealing with customers. We are providing a service, and I think anytime you're providing a service, it's always important to keep a smile on your face, to interact with the most positive attitude that you can, and it's not hard. It's not easy, but as long as you love what you do, I think it comes naturally. And definitely. I see that with you 100%.
Love. Can't see myself doing anything else.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Shameen, for joining us on the program this morning. And we when you do create your etiquette book,
Yes.
I would love to have you back on, because this conversation was definitely enlightening and very interesting.
Thank you so much for having me. It was my pleasure being here. And please, I would just like Trinidad and Tobago to know it just takes nothing to be nice, to be kind, to just, I mean, you never know, it's just to give people that experience and exceed. The aim is always exceeding customers' expectations.
Yes.
It's an experience.
Oh, yes.
So.
Oh, my gosh. Could not have said that better. I 100% agree, because I've experienced bad customer service on many different levels, different situations, different places, and it is difficult. So this is really nice. Would you possibly consider, you know, this book being in education institutions?
I know we almost finished.
Yeah.
Just have to say that my aim, Silver already adopted it for their school, for hospitality, Tobago Hotel School as well. My aim is to get it in the government, all secondary schools, because like I say, a lot of persons may not be academically inclined, but there's a whole career out there.
Yes.
There's cruise ship, there's the restaurant industry, hospitality, the hotel industry. And I really would want to get, I called the ministry yesterday to see how I can get it on the curriculum and get it in each library in the government on secondary schools.
Yeah, yes.
So that is my aim. So I'm working on that.
Yes.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Well, I wish you all the best.
Thank
with
you so
that.
much. Thank you.
So that was Charmaine Rivers on her book, The Joy of Serving. Yeah, so if you want to get a chance, take a look at it. You can find the book on Amazon, or you can call House of Tea at 728-3081. All right, so we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to continue on with another conversation. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Low energy? Heart concerns? Migraines slowing you down? It's time to take control of your health. Join Wellness Unlocked, the series that brings expert advice and real solutions for a healthier you. In our latest episode, learn how Jameson CoQ10 can help support heart health, boost energy, and even reduce migraines. Get the science, the stories, and the steps to power up your health with CoQ10. Don't miss Wellness Unlocked. Watch now on WESN and start your wellness journey today.
I am Dr. Delphina Ovid, your friendly neighborhood dentist. At Community Hospital Dental Clinic, we offer examinations which include x-rays, basic oral cancer screening, and a treatment plan. We also offer cleanings, fillings, extractions, root canal treatment, and complete and partial dentures. Remember, you don't have to brush and floss all your teeth, just the ones you want to keep.
Give us a call at 235-5479.
The Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist,
Where good private health care is affordable.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, the Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity, from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378, or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
Our award-winning show is back, and this season promises to be even more exciting than before. What's Up, Doc isn't just a title, it's a call to action for anyone who wants to improve their health and well-being. Join us on this thrilling ride towards better health on WESN Content Capital.
Good morning and welcome back to AM Prime on WESN. So I wanted to touch on something that we all know and love. Sunday is Father's Day. It's traditionally observed in the third Sunday in June in many countries, including the US, the UK, Canada, as well as right here in Trinidad and Tobago. It was first celebrated, there's some fun facts, so if you're ever in like a trivia night, just so for your information now, so first celebrated on June 19th in 1910 in the US, in Washington City, Spokane, Washington. The founder was a lady named Sonara Smart Dodd. She wanted to honor her father, who was a Civil War veteran who raised 6 children as a single parent, which we all know that sounds like it was pretty difficult. So while hearing a church sermon about the newly recognized Mother's Day at Central Methodist Episcopal Church, Sonora felt strongly that fatherhood needed recognition as well. She approached the Spokane Ministerial Alliance and suggested her own father's birthday of June 5th as the day of honor for fathers. So the purpose of Father's Day is to honor fathers, father figures, and paternal bonds, and recognize their influence in society and families. So, I mean, happy Father's Day in advance, because, you know, we'll be coming back here on Monday, and Father's Day would have already taken place. So happy Father's Day in advance to all the fathers, the ones that we work with here on WESN, as well as happy Father's Day to anyone out there that is listening that is a father, is going to become a father soon, or anybody that is taking up a father figure presence in anybody's life. So you are to be celebrated this weekend. It's all about you. Take great pride in everything that you're doing, because it is absolutely necessary, the work that your presence and the work that you are doing. So we're just going to go into some more news updates for the rest of the program. So it's so much happening around the world. I think it's pertinent for us to touch on them, talk about them. Our WhatsApp is open at all times. So if you have any feedback or commentary, be sure to let us know. Again, the WhatsApp number is 682-9376, 682-9376. So if you're a social media person, you prefer to just comment on Facebook, WhatsApp, Facebook, YouTube, anything, Instagram even, you can head to what you see our socials there on the bottom, WESN TV, WESN CC, and you can also head to our Instagram, WESN CC. So first up, we're going to the UK. In Northern Ireland. Anti-migrant protests have broken out as mobs attack police. Take a look at this video.
A leisure centre has been set on fire in the town of Larne in Northern Ireland this evening after its windows were smashed by people wearing masks. A local MLA said the site had been attacked by thugs. It comes after 2 nights of violence in Ballymena, about 20 miles away. Rioting broke out there on Monday after a protest about an alleged sexual assault in the town. The police service of Northern Ireland had already requested help from other forces in the wake of the violence, which was described as racist thuggery. Well, let's go straight to our Ireland correspondent, Sarah Gervin, who is in Ballymena this evening. Are we looking at a spread of this violence, Sarah?
Yeah, it certainly seems so, and things are moving really quickly here in Ballymena again this evening. Tonight, Jane, there's a heavy police presence. Officers are under attack again for the 3rd night in a row with bottles, with bricks and with fireworks. Now, police dogs have been deployed to push those crowds back, and we've just seen 2 police water cannons arrive as well. And as you say, we've seen those pictures from Larne Leisure Centre this evening. That's a town about 20 miles away from here. That building has been attacked. Fires were set there, though police tell us they now are under control. Now, it's understood a number of people were moved from Ballymena temporarily to that leisure centre, although we understand they have now left Larne. Now, there have been many calls for calm over the past few days. These don't seem to have been heeded. Here's how things have panned out here in Ballymena over the past 24 hours. 2 nights of intense violence have left homes destroyed, cars on fire, and 32 police officers injured. Police have described the disorder as racist thuggery and say they're treating the attacks as racially motivated hate crimes. This morning, another clean-up, but the events of the past few days have left their mark. Around these streets, residents are beginning to announce their nationalities. Filipino families are putting stickers on their homes, and there are also lots of union flags with signs saying things like, "This is a British household." Now, off camera, people have told us they hope that will be enough to stop their homes being attacked. Meanwhile, others are packing up and leaving. The family who lived here moved to Northern Ireland from Bulgaria a decade ago, but are now moving out, no longer feeling safe after rioters ransacked their home.
It's not possible to wait to see what's going to happen. I have to save my children. 10 years we live in here and work and pay rent normally. Going to school normally, we never make problem.
Others say tension around immigration has been building in this community for some time.
There has been a failure to integrate with a small section of the immigrants. 95%, 99% integrate great, and we go on with them, and it's very regrettable that it's come to this. This is a beautiful wee area to live in years ago, and everybody got along well. This has to stop.
Meanwhile, the Police Service of Northern Ireland has asked for assistance from other forces.
I have now activated the request for mutual aid resources from policing colleagues in Great Britain to ensure we have the necessary support to maintain public order and bring offenders to justice in the days to come.
6 arrests have been made so far, and police say they plan to significantly increase officer numbers moving into this evening and over the next few days. Sarah Gervin.
Off without major incident. Anti-migration protests. It would have happened in Ballymena, the primary flashpoint of the first 2 nights, and then of course more intense violence would have followed that after. So Paul Frew, he's a member of the Regional Assembly from Ballymena, said that while some people gathered on the streets again amidst a big police presence, it was much quieter, and that heavy rainfall at that point in time in the earlier days had helped to keep people away. But then rioters, not protesters, there's a difference. Rioters attacked police with petrol bombs, rocks and fireworks in the Northern Irish town of Portadown on Thursday. So that would have been yesterday, as a 4th night of anti-immigrant violence moved to a different part of Ballymena. Tensions first flared on Monday after 2 14-year-old boys were arrested. 2 14 migrant boys were arrested and appeared in court, accused of a serious sexual assault on a teenage girl in the town. The charges were read to the boys were Romanian. They were read via a Romanian interpreter whose lawyer told the court that they denied the charge. So those 2 14-year-old boys, whose names have been, of course, redacted due to their age, have appeared in court after a serious sexual assault on the teenage girl in the county Antrim. The police service of Northern Ireland said it would have happened in Clonavan Terrace in Ballymena. So it all stays within the same geographical area. Both boys were charged with attempted oral rape, and both deny the charges. The teenagers, they were, just to paint a picture, who were sitting side by side, appeared by a video link from Woodlands Juvenile Center wearing grey tracksuits. One police constable said that she believed she could connect the pair to the charge. There was no application for bail, and they have been remanded in custody until the 2nd of July, when they are due to appear by video at the youth court at Ballymena Magistrates Court. So this is what would have allegedly sparked the protests that would have happened on Monday night, that grew into the violence that we just saw on video a couple of moments ago, that
from yesterday. So over the course of 4 days, it would have gone from peaceful protests to violent riots. Some people are attributing it to more racist intentions, stating that the individuals living in that area of Ballymena have been racist towards some sort of, not racist, but xenophobic towards other ethnicities, other migrants that are coming into the country into the county that isn't white. So, of course, the Irish nationals would have, Northern Irish nationals would have denied that claim. They said that they're very open country, open county. But of course, if what's happening, I mean, it happens here in Trinidad as well. When you accept migrants into the country, if what happens is the crime goes up, you tend to blame the migrants. So this would have happened, and now that's what we're seeing. So it has died down since then, but we're going to keep an eye on it to make sure that it doesn't grow into something that is egregiously worse. So in other news, U.S. President Donald Trump's extremely controversial deployment of the National Guard amongst protests in L.A. So we have a couple of updates on that, but take a look at this video for more information first.
An overnight curfew has been enforced in Los Angeles, where police say they made mass arrests after a fifth day of protests over President Trump's controversial deployment of the National Guard and Marines. The White House says the troops are needed in order to protect border control agents on immigration raids. California's Governor Newsom, fiercely opposes the deployment. He has called it inflammatory. Here's some of what he's been saying.
Donald Trump, without consulting California law enforcement leaders, commandeered 2,000 of our state's National Guard members to deploy on our streets, illegally and for no reason. This brazen abuse of power by a sitting president inflamed a combustible situation, putting our people, our officers, and even our National Guard at risk. That's when the downward spiral began. He doubled down on his dangerous National Guard deployment by fanning the flames even harder.
The mayor of Los Angeles, Karen Bass, announced an overnight curfew in the city centre. The order affecting an area roughly 1 square mile in size in downtown LA. You can see it here on this map that was posted by the mayor's office. It will be enforced between 8 p.m. and 6 a.m. local time. That is less than an hour from now. Some people were granted exceptions: emergency, medical personnel, people who live and work there, and media as well with formal credentials. We have the latest pictures to show you as well from LA, where at least one group of protesters appear to be defying that curfew. They are moving through an area where police have not closed off the road. LAPD posting on social media that it was addressing what it described as multiple groups and that mass arrests were being initiated. Footage too of several people being detained in the downtown area. Not clear if those arrests are for defying the curfew or failing to observe an earlier dispersal order from the scene of an unlawful assembly. For more details, here's Jared Hill in New York.
Well, Lucy, we've seen these demonstrations happening in New York, in Chicago, as well as parts of Texas, Washington, D.C., California, obviously multiple of those. Here in New York yesterday, there were hundreds of people, if not somewhere close to 1,000, who were protesting really in one particular part of the city. I think that that's one of the things that's important to keep in mind here with all of these protests that we're seeing, is that largely they are pretty isolated to specific parts of these cities. There were a couple of dozen arrests yesterday here in New York, mostly related to things like disorderly conduct. There is another protest scheduled for today here in New York as well. One of the big questions, obviously, is going to be how long does this last? How much do we continue to see these protests around this specific issue? There have obviously been constant protests ever since President Trump took office, and this is the latest powder keg.
Well, Jared, they're mentioning where we have also seen some protests in Texas. The governor there, Greg Abbott, he's a Republican, has announced that he's deploying the National Guard at several locations across the state. He says he wants to, in his words, ensure peace and order. And that follows reports, which he has posted links to on social media, that he is also sending troops to the city of San Antonio ahead of planned protests against the federal crackdown on immigration, which has led to thousands of deportations.
All right, so we're just going to do a little bit of a recap. So on June 7th, Trump issued a Title X memorandum federalizing 2,000 California National Guard troops and later expanded to nearly 4,000 alongside the U.S. Marines, deploying them to Los Angeles without the governor, as you would have seen him, Governor Gavin Newsom's consent. He has been very vocal on his disappointment. I wouldn't even say disappointment, but his complete and utter horror of the deployment of the guards in California. So troops were tasked with protecting federal property and assisting ICE officers during protests sparked by large-scale immigration raids. So what would have happened is a U.S. District Judge Charles Breyer ruled the deployment illegal, citing violations of the 10th Amendment and misuse of federal authority under the Posse Comitatus Act. He ordered troops returned to state-controlled, but later that day, a circuit appeals court granted an emergency stay, allowing President Donald Trump to maintain federal control until a court hearing a couple of days from now, say about 5 days from now, on June 17th. So Trump would have defended the deployment as necessary to prevent rebellion and liberate Los Angeles from chaos. Those were the words he would have used, comparing protests to threats against U.S. sovereignty. So Governor Newsom and other legal experts condemned the move as an authoritarian overreach. They condemned it as unlawful and an assault on civil liberties. But something else that I found interesting recently, I think this came out yesterday, a couple of days ago actually, what Trump would have posted on Truth Social, some people are regarding it as him softening his approach. I thought it was an interesting take, so maybe we can take a look at what he would have said here via Truth Social. And people in the hotel and leisure business have been stating that our very aggressive policy on immigration is taking a very good long time workers away from them. Those with jobs being almost impossible to replace. In many cases, the criminals allowed into our country by the very stupid Biden open borders policy are applying for those jobs. This is not good. We must protect our farmers, but get the criminals out of the USA, and changes are coming. So he would have said that a couple of days ago. And then recently, he would have stood up at I believe it was a hearing, or a media conference, and he would have stated these same views and said that perhaps some people are trying to say that he's saying it, perhaps that his stance on illegal immigration may have been a little too hard and fast or black and white, that there are persons who are giving back to the country, especially in farming, in leisure, so hotel activities. So those people are being caught up into these immigration raids and they're being treated unfairly. And what they're saying, what Trump is saying, is that we need to put the emphasis on the criminal activity and not the individuals who are actually giving back to the country, to the U.S., which is what he would have said from the beginning, but liberal media is now picking up on it, as a lot of people thought that he did not think that. He thought, okay, if you were foreign and you were gone, it doesn't matter if you were a criminal or not. But liberal media is saying that maybe he is softening his stance. So perhaps this could be an in for the more right side, more conservative side and liberal media, to liberal just persons in general, to find some sort of common ground as a way to provide a way further, because it's come at a time where people are realizing, okay, we're very far right, we're very conservative, we're very it's hard to be, I don't know how to explain this, but it's come at a time where persons are realizing that maybe my liberties, because Donald Trump is now the president, people were scared that their liberties would be taken away from them. But hearing this stance from Donald Trump, or hearing that, okay, he's realizing certain individuals are doing good and they're giving back to the country, this is a good thing, and maybe we can feel a little bit safer. So it's bringing some sort of promise to a sustainable future, a good future for persons who may not have been born in the USA. So what is going to happen next? The Ninth Circuit hearing on June 17th, and as I would have said before, it will determine the legality of retaining federal control of the troops as well as the outcome could set an important precedent for federal deployment of military forces on U.S. soil, especially within a politically charged context. So all we can say is that we hope for the best, because what we don't want to see is these continued riots. We don't want to see a continued, what they call authoritative control or government control. We would like to see peace. So in other U.S. news, an update into the Harvey Weinstein sexual assault case. So over 80 women in the film industry accused Weinstein of very heinous sexual acts. Weinstein himself denied, of course, any non-consensual sex. So take a look at this video for more information.
I want to get more now from the US. That breaking news: Harvey Weinstein has been found guilty of one sex crime charge, not guilty on another, and no verdict on the rape charge. Let's try and get a bit of clarity about what's going on. We can speak to our North America correspondent, Neda Taufik. Hi, Neda. Just talk us through what's happened in court.
Yeah, well, remember, this is the second trial of Harvey Weinstein in New York after the first one was overturned by a court of appeals that found that prosecutors had unfairly allowed women that weren't officially part of the charges to testify. So on the second go-around, there was, of course, intense interest in how the jury would look at the evidence from two women, two of the same women who testified in the first trial, but also a new third accuser in this second case. Nevertheless, though, we have seen the jury deliberating over 5 days, and during those 5 days, there has been a lot of tension. In fact, there have been reports that the foreperson on the jury actually complained to the judge about some of the tactics being used by other jurors to try to change the minds of others, bringing in some evidence, for example, that wasn't part of the case. And Weinstein's attorneys actually tried to move for a mistrial, but the judge just reminded jurors that they had to look solely at the evidence in this case. So after 5 days, we now have a decision where the jury has found Harvey Weinstein guilty of a criminal sexual act with one of the women, Mimi Haley. Now, she was a production assistant that worked with Weinstein, and she has accused him of forcibly performing oral sex on her. So they have found Weinstein guilty on that charge. They have found Weinstein not guilty on the third new accuser, a Polish model who said that she was hoping that Weinstein would help her with his career, with her career, but then also forced oral sex on her. Now, there is a third woman who was part of the original case, Jessica Mann. She actually had a long consensual relationship with Weinstein, but accused him of rape. Now, the jury is going to return tomorrow to continue deliberating on that count. But look, we are years from the Me Too movement. Harvey Weinstein, of course, was kind of the poster man for that movement because of how many women in Hollywood had come out and spoken out against him. And so his initial trial, where he was found guilty, was really seen as a victory for that movement. Years on, many were waiting to see what the result would be this time around. So a partial victory for one of the women who the jury heard her case and believed her, but more to come as we wait to see what the jury has to say about the rest of the case.
All right, so just a little bit of a recap on how we even got here. In May 2018, Weinstein was arrested in New York and charged with rape and some other offenses. By 2020, he was found guilty of rape in the third degree and committing a criminal sexual act. For this, he was sentenced to 23 years in prison. But now, last year, in 2024, the conviction was overturned on appeal, not because he was found innocent, but due to procedural errors during the trial. So a new trial was then permitted. While that was going on in Los Angeles, he was convicted on 3 counts, 1 of rape and 2 of sexual assault. He was sentenced to 16 more years behind bars, though he did appeal that conviction as well. On July 9th of 2024, New York prosecutors informed the court that they intended to bring additional rape charges against Weinstein. But these new allegations, they said, because it fell within the state's statute of limitations. So just 2 months later, on September 12, 2024, a New York grand jury indicted Weinstein on those new charges. The specific details of the indictment were sealed at the time. A retrial in New York was initially scheduled for November 12, 2024, but it faced multiple delays. That's why we weren't hearing anything for quite some time. Jury selection eventually began on April 15th of this year. Opening statements and witness testimony started on April 23rd. Finally, this month, June 11th, Weinstein was convicted in a split verdict, which is what we just heard about, meaning that he was found guilty on some charges, but not all. As for another rape case brought forward during this time, which is what we just heard from the last actor. So that was something that was brought in maybe a couple of weeks beforehand. So that ended in a mistrial. Still, because of his Los Angeles conviction, he is going to be remanded into custody, and he will serve out for the rest of I believe it would be about 20 years now, he will serve the rest of his prison sentence. So that's where we are right now. We will continue to hear more about it because he isn't doing the best, as we would have just seen him walking out of the courthouse. He isn't doing the best, so we will be hearing more about him in the near future. I am 100% sure of it. But as of right now, as we would have said, he is remanded into custody, and he will stay in there to serve out the rest of his 23-year-long sentence. So I kind of wanted to stay on U.S. news because they're giving us a lot of news right now. Something I have found very interesting. I mean, if you were on TikTok at all at any point in time over the last couple of weeks, you would have been hearing about the bromance breakup between Elon Musk and Donald Trump. Early Wednesday, Elon Musk wrote on Twitter. He would have said that he regrets some of the posts he made about Donald Trump, as he cited that they went too far. I'm not sure if you would have heard what he would have said about him. He indicated that he was part of the Harvey Weinstein's, what would you call it? He was one of the individuals that was caught up into Jeffrey Epstein's infamous pedophile ring. He said that he would have had association with that, and he would have said a bunch of other things about Trump that he said, okay, no, it was a little bit too far. I shouldn't have said that. So take a look at this video for more information about the bromance breakup.
Now, after their bitter social media fallout, the Tesla boss, Elon Musk, has apologized for posts he made about US President Donald Trump. Writing on his platform X, Mr. Musk says, "I regret some of my posts about President Donald Trump last week. They went too far." The backdrop here is, of course, the bitter war of words that culminated in the tech billionaire suggesting without evidence that President Trump appears in unreleased files related to the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The situation has inevitably cast major doubts over Mr. Musk's various business interests with the US government. Well, to look at this story, I'm now joined by our business presenter, Sally Bandock. And Sally, how surprising is this latest post from Elon Musk?
Well, I would say it's not that surprising. As you've just read out there, his post on X was, "I regret some of my posts about President Trump last week. They went too far." What kicked the spat off in the first place between these two men was his initial criticism of what President Trump calls my big beautiful bill, which is his really critical policy move that's currently going through the Senate. It needs approval in the Senate so that he can go ahead with what many argue is President Trump's biggest change in tax and spend, which will have huge implications for the US economy. And Elon Musk was really critical of whether that was a good idea or not, accusing the president of putting the US economy in a perilous state because the level of debt would be far too high. And that's where it all started. But then we are all well aware, aren't we, of just how toxic that very public argument became between the two of them, mudslinging on Truth Social and X, and where it's sort of ended up. So now, with the days that have gone by and all the commentary and the analysis, Elon Musk is saying, "I regret some parts, not all of it, but some of it.
We're not sure which parts he regrets just yet, are we, Sally? But in terms of what was at stake for Elon Musk, we talked about, the massive government contracts his companies have in the US, and of course Tesla's share price also took a hit after that spat. Just talk to us about what was at stake for him.
Yeah, and what's still at stake, let's not forget, this does not mean by any means that these two are going to start to be very good friends again by any means, but for Elon Musk, his companies, we've got Tesla, of course, the electric vehicles company, we've got SpaceX, we've got Starlink. They all do a huge amount of business with the US government. If I give you one example, SpaceX has been awarded almost $21 billion in US government contracts since 2008. That was according to analysis by BBC Verify. And on Thursday last week, when this argument was just going beyond belief on social media, Tesla shares went into free fall, dropping some 14%. If we look at the share value now, they're down around 5% in the last 5 days. And that's tens of billions of dollars in value wiped off the market capitalization of Tesla. But there's very important things at stake here for Elon Musk. So Tesla, at the end of this week, is actually going to be testing a batch of its robo-taxis in Austin, Texas. And he needs regulatory approval for that. And also these other government contracts, Starlink, etc., SpaceX I've mentioned. It's a very important relationship with the US government. But it's not something that can be unravelled quickly. For example, the contracts SpaceX has with NASA, with the US government, that would take a lot of unravelling legally. So it's not easily undone, despite what's going on between President Trump and Elon Musk in terms of their personal views and opinions. But we'll see how this plays out going forward, because, of course, Elon Musk has said in that latest post on X, he does regret some of his comments. But as you said, Catherine, we don't know which ones, we don't know which details, and this will go on and on. So there'll be more to come, to be continued.
And let's look forward.
All right, so last week Thursday, investors in Elon Musk's electric vehicle company Tesla would have sent the stock plunging more than 14%, knocking $150 billion off the company's market value. Tesla shares, it would have recovered a little bit, recovered those losses over the few days trading, although the rally showed that it would have stalled the Wednesday. So perhaps some people are saying is perhaps a sign that investors remain on edge and they want more solid confirmation that the feud has ended. But on that new note, whether or not it has ended, President Trump has said that he could patch things up with with Elon Musk, but a potential reconciliation isn't a top priority for him at the moment. Trump said that he doesn't blame Musk for the blow-up of their alliance, but he is a little disappointed. He says, "I have no hard feelings. I was really surprised that this happened." He went after a bill that's phenomenal, what Trump calls his big, beautiful bill. He continued to say that he feels very badly, Elon Musk that is, that he would have said those things about me. So that's where they're at right now with a potential makeup. They're both open to it, but whether or not that will happen, as Donald Trump said, is not a priority for him at the moment. Tesla shares would have closed up at 0.1% at a dollar amount of $326.43 US. So on the Trump side, just hearing who was more in support of Trump, who was more in support of Elon Musk. Because, of course, with an alliance like that, it's going to have some very high, not just economic fallout, but also social implications as well. So Vice President J.D. Vance and the White House Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles, felt compelled to intervene. The pair called Elon Musk, and they would have urged him to end his feud with Donald Trump. The call was first reported last week, Wednesday, by the Wall Street Journal. So Tesla investors had been hoping Trump would pull back from regulatory scrutiny of Musk's partially self-driving cars and hammer out new federal rules to help usher in a future of fully self-driving cars that they are convinced Tesla will dominate. So there's a lot of economic hope towards reconciliation between the two individuals, the two men, because what would happen is that they're hoping that this would force Trump or cause Donald Trump to put some sort of policy in place that would help usher in, of course, the new set of self-driving cars, just to help those cars become the dominant automobile in the US and even possibly the world. So at one point, so before expressing regrets for his comments, Musk would have deleted a post in which he claimed without evidence that the government was concealing information about the president's association with the infamous pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. Meanwhile, other posts that irritated Trump, not quite as jarring, but would have just irritated him, including ones in which Musk called the spending bill an abomination, which is what I think Donald Trump was most aggrieved by, because that's the only thing he seemed to have focus on. He didn't really focus on Elon Musk incorporating his name with Jeffrey Epstein. He was more so hurt that he called the bill an abomination or called the bill stupid. Elon Musk does claim credit for Trump's election victory, so he feels as though Trump has turned his back on him. So that's where they are at now, and that's where they're at now. All we can do is hope that this doesn't have a huge economic fallout for the rest of the world, because, I mean, that tends to happen, right? But as of right now, the market has been stabilized, and we're hoping that there's no more tense talk from either party to cause any sort of social and or economic fallouts. So that is kind of it for the international news for today. I wanted to touch on something that will be happening today, actually, in Parliament. The motion on the top police appointments is going to be a hot debate topic at this afternoon's first parliamentary debate. So take a look at this video and we'll come back to discuss more.
The Police Service Commission has nominated former Special Branch Inspector Alistair Cavaro for Commissioner of Police and Assistant Police Commissioner Wayne Meister to act as Deputy Commissioner of Police. A motion will be laid by Minister of Homeland Security Roger Alexander and debated at the next sitting of the House of Representatives on Friday. In accordance with Legal Notice 218 and 219 of 2015, to select and appoint the Commissioner of Police and the Deputy Commissioner of Police, the Police Service Commission must nominate a candidate, submit that name to the President for appointment, and then to the House of Representatives for approval. Junior Benjamin has been acting in the position of Police Commissioner since February 6, 2025.
Yes, so according to the latest order paper of Parliament, the President issued the official notification for Guevara's appointment on May 9, 2025. Meister's notification to act as Deputy Commissioner was issued on June 3rd. Both appointments does require the approval of the House of Representatives, so in the first Parliament convention that's happening later this afternoon, we will see that debate play out. So a little bit of note about Alistair Guevara. He has served in the police service for about 2 decades, with key assignments in the special branch and investigative leadership roles. In 2010, he headed a high-profile investigation into how a box of confidential Supreme Court documents ended up in a private law office. At that time, he held the rank of inspector. More recently, in 2022, he was part of the committee appointed to probe the nationwide blackout, representing the special branch, and he currently holds the rank of assistant commissioner. Wayne Meister, who was given the nod for Deputy Commissioner, also acts as Assistant Commissioner. He has held a broad range of operational and public-facing roles. He gained national visibility during the 2011 state of emergency, serving as Police Public Information Officer and head of the Traffic and Highway Patrol Branch. He later led the Mounted Branch and served in the Northern, Central, and Southern Divisions. Most recently, Wayne Meister led public trust and community initiatives, including the launch of a crime tip hotline and targeted patrols to address domestic violence and gang activity. The motions to confirm both appointments were submitted under government business by the Minister of Homeland Security, Roger Alexander. So as of today, Junior Benjamin holds the role of Acting Commissioner of Police. He is mainly seen as the People's Commissioner. He maintains an open-door policy with his staff and has a track record of being open and transparent with the media and, of course, by extension, the public. His rise up the ranks was a bit unconventional, though, as Benjamin took a 3-year leave of absence from the TTPS in 1993, during which time he became an ordained minister. When his leave ended, he was offered a full-time position as a clerk in the fingerprint department, which he would have humbly accepted. In 1998, he earned a degree in theology, and when the opportunity arose for him to become a part of the Special Reserve Police to be drafted into the regular TTPS, he was encouraged to apply, in which he placed first in the entrance examination. He was later qualified as a drill and firearms instructor at the police academy. He had hoped to at least walk away with a trophy in recognition of his efforts, but according to him, after a falling out with his squad mates, he was overlooked once again. He said his main goal is to make the TTPS an employer of choice rather than a necessity of choice. He was not given the nod to become the new instated Commissioner of Police. All right, so we're going to take a little bit of a quick break here, and when we return, it is Good News Friday, so we'll be discussing some good news happening around the world and in Trinidad and Tobago. Stay with us.
My name is Dr. Joanne Williams-Carroll, and I am the Director of Behavioral and Mental Health at the Community Hospital. At the Community Hospital, we believe in nurturing mind, body, and soul. Through our counseling and chaplaincy program, we will provide you with support and strength you need to help with your mental and emotional well-being. Give us a call.
The Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist,
where good private health care is affordable.
Maybe he landed here totally by coincidence. But if by chance he's admiring your fresh coat of Benjamin Moore soft sky blue, well, that's a pretty high compliment. Coming from an expert.
Struggling with heart health or frequent migraines? Discover the simple steps to reclaim your energy and vitality.
We're diving into a topic that affects about 422 million people around the world: diabetes.
Tune into Wellness Unlocked, the series that delivers expert advice, practical tips, and inspiring stories to help you take control of your health and well-being. Your health matters. Don't miss Wellness Unlocked. Watch now on WESN and take the first step toward better health.
We are tackling the hard-hitting topics, some controversial topics, some topics we sweep under the rug. You don't always have to forgive in a relationship for it to move forward.
If it is you are in a situation where you forgive the person, but to the detriment of yourself, what are you really doing?
It is very uncommon for somebody in the younger age group to have dementia.
Atheists don't not believe.
Is that I can't disprove God, but you also can't prove God, so we kind of at a stalemate.
You'll focus on the woman who's being the victim,
right,
or the man who's being the victim. We exclude the children.
Folks are trying to study the underlying brain mechanism to figure out how does this particular disorder happen in the brain? How is the brain processing this?
Don't worry about AI, worry about humans working with AI.
Are you willing to learn new skills to stay relevant for the future job market? That's the challenge that people are going to struggle with.
This is 10 Questions. I'm Andy Johnson. The distance from where we should be in the world in going forward on our commitments with climate change.
The effects of climate change that cannot be accounted for, it's called loss and damage. And we're seeing loss and damage happening so much more in this decade and the previous decade.
The principal term there was this question of the correspondent banking issues.
That is why we're trying to build capacity with this country here, Trinidad and Tobago, and other countries in the region.
Man is not showing any signs of stopping or even slowing down. More than half of the forest in Trinidad is already gone.
All the plants and all the animals and all of the nice clean water and fresh air and everything had to be on this planet for humanity to have a chance.
We have small change when it comes to countries that can take decisions, and when they speak, the world listens.
The General Assembly is a very democratic forum. And Trinidad and Tobago has the same vote as Canada, in spite of the obvious difference in size.
So it is Good News Friday. You know, we like to end our week here on AM Prime on WESN with a celebration of good news happening again around the world or just in Trinidad and Tobago. Too many times during the week we hear about the bad that's happening, you know, the murders and the sexual assaults and the people just doing bad things, and it's being broadcasted all over media. That is what tends to fill our weekly news cycle. But of course, we want to flip that narrative and say, yes, there's bad, but within that, there is always good. So the first story that I wanted to highlight is something I came across a couple of days ago. A man from Alberta, Canada is making headlines for what many are calling a once-in-a-lifetime streak, except it happened 4 times. David Sirkin from the Lethbridge area recently won $1 million on the May 3rd lotto. Remarkably, this is his 3rd lottery win under 9 months and his 4th overall. In 2024 alone, Sirkin won $500,000 in August and another $1 million in November, but his luck goes back even further. He won $250,000 over a decade ago. That is $250,000. The longtime lottery player who's been buying tickets since 1982 says he knows the odds are astronomical, but he just enjoys the routine. He says you check your ticket, and if you win, you're happy. He said if you don't, you can always try again. So the interesting thing about David Sirkin is that he is a cancer survivor, and he is now retired. Sirkin says he's just grateful. After one of his wins, he took his wife to Hawaii, and this time they're planning a trip to Newfoundland. He said even his friends are stunned. Sirkin says after his latest win, he went for coffee with them, and no one could believe it happened again. Imagine you have a friend, and you sat down with them within a year, and they've won the lottery 3 times. And you know something about them. They won it a couple of years ago again. So altogether, you have a friend that won the lottery 4 times. You need to touch that friend's jacket. You need to be really, really close with that friend, because apparently they have some luck that is absolutely astronomical. So with odds of winning that hover around 1 in 33 million, Sirkin's story is a rare and inspiring reminder that sometimes lightning, it does strike twice or maybe 4 times. It's interesting. I mean, whether or not you believe gambling or playing the lotto is a good thing, a morally good thing, or a bad thing, a waste of money, however you feel about it, that's not the point. The point is it happened 4 times. So it almost brings into this, and it's a contradiction that he is a cancer survivor. He's somebody that has gone through something that it takes the lives of so many people. It tends to devastate families. It's not a good thing. It's an illness. So he's gone through something like that. And in the same breath, he's also won the lotto, winning a good chunk of money 4 times. So it's almost like, is he blessed? Is he not blessed? Is it some sort of dichotomy of blessings and curses? So I found it was an interesting thing. You know, would he trade the money to not have gone through the experience of going through cancer? But as of right now, he's a cancer survivor, so he's beat it. So does that mean that he is just exceptionally lucky, exceptionally blessed? I mean, what can we say about that? So I just found it was an interesting and happy story that we should hear about. I mean, there's also the point that he kept trying. He kept going for something that he wanted. He kept going for it. He tried and he tried and he tried. I mean, and he said something, hey, you check your ticket, if you win, you're happy. He said, and if you don't, you can always try again. And I think there's some inspirational truth that we can take from that. If you don't get what you want, you can always try again. So I thought that was a really heartwarming story to highlight. So now we're going to come back home to Trinidad and Tobago. A friend of mine, as well as somebody we've had on the show, I think twice thus far, and not just inspiring, but humble, intelligent, get-goer, ambitious type, Bernice Antoine. She has just made waves because she would have represented, of course, not just her school in Hong Kong, but Trinidad and Tobago on the world stage. She would have represented in TEDx. So for an initiative that she came on to speak about let's say about a month ago. So her initiative is called Planet Plate. It's an AI-powered app and tool designed to help households reduce food waste. It works by analyzing grocery receipts to identify what food people buy and when it's likely to spoil, sending personalized reminders to users when items are nearing expiration, offering storage tips and usage suggestions tailored to local food habits, as well as recipes, personalized recipes. So Bernice is, of course, a Trinidadian student, born and bred, loves Trinidad, and she's studying business analytics at the University of Notre Dame with a minors in sustainability, social entrepreneurship, and innovation. So she has a very littered career that spans roles in policy, youth development, environmental advocacy, with positions such as the co-founder of Planet Plate, vice chair at Caribbean Women in Leadership, and in her involvement with the UNFPA Youth Advisory Group. So she was inspired by her work on sustainable waste management in Trinidad and Tobago. She would have actually spent 2 months with monks in India learning about sustainable food habits that I found was really interesting. So I think about, let's say, a week and change ago, she was highlighted at TEDx City, Hong Kong, where she showcased Planet Plate as a climate-smart AI tool. I believe the name of her speech would have been Climate Change, Homelessness, and Fried Chicken. It's a very, very entertaining and interesting watch because she tells a story. Sometimes you don't know where she's going to go with it, but in the end, it ties all together with her introduction or her start into where Planet Plate comes from and where she's hoping to take it. So I found this was a really inspiring story for us to hear about because it's a Trini doing big things, a young Trinidadian woman doing such, and not just big, but impactful project. If you would listen to the way that she speaks, you can tell that she's very passionate about what she's doing, and she's humbled by all of the experiences that she has had. So go look up that TEDx video. Again, it's entitled Climate Change, Homelessness, and Fried Chicken. She tells a story of KFC, she tells a story of her parents, her mom, she tells a story of Planet Plates, and of course the story of homelessness and what we can do to reduce it, or what we can do to help brothers in need. She also made a comment that I'd really liked. It was about giving giving in spite of circumstance. Sometimes we tend to say, okay, well, I have this money now, so I have $5, I could give $2 to the homeless man. But you know, when you go home, you have $100, but you have the $5 now. So why not give the homeless man the $5, and then when you go home, you have that $100. So it was giving in spite of circumstance. She also landed an experience that she would have had with her mom when she was really, really young. And I'm sharing this because it's something that stuck with me, and I'm sure that once you watch it, it'll stick with you as well. When her mom would have bought her KFC, she was really excited to eat the box of KFC. This was her box of KFC. Again, it's a very young child. But randomly, her mother would have just taken the KFC box and give it to a homeless man on the streets. And of course, you as a young child, knowing that you were gearing up to, you're very hungry, you were gearing up to eat this KFC, and your mom just takes it and gives it to someone else, you would be understandably upset about that. But in that moment, she said that her mom would have taught her something special. You have food to go home and eat, we just have to cook it. This homeless man doesn't know where his next meal is going to come from. So why not give him this? Because it's sacrifice, yes, but you'd be all right. We don't know if he would be. So why not give him the box of food. So today I use that experience, that analogy to challenge you to give in spite of circumstance. So again, go to YouTube. You can find the video on YouTube at TEDx Hong Kong. So the name of the video is entitled again, Climate Change, Homelessness and Fried Chicken by our very own Bernice Antoine. So again, Planet Plate is culturally attuned. That's an AI-driven solution launched by a Caribbean native that empowers Caribbean families to track, store, and consume food a little bit smarter and a little bit more sustainable. It merges cutting-edge technology with deep community understanding, one plate at a time. So Planet Plate is the name of it. You can go on Instagram, YouTube, anywhere really, and look it up so you can learn more about it. I believe the app is about to be launched or being launched soon. But if you go on Instagram and you search it up, you'd be able to see what it looks like so that it could possibly even help you. So right now they're looking for feedback. I believe there is a link that you can fill out. It's a quick form that you can fill out to say what it is you're expecting from Planet Plate. And of course, they're looking for constant feedback. So once you play around with it a bit, they would learn more, the app would learn more, and then it would become a more sturdy, sustainable app that gives the people what they want. So yeah, I thought that was a nice story to tell you guys. These are things that are happening that is good in our news cycle, stuff that we should be highlighting, stuff that we should be celebrating. It's not all bad. It's never all bad. So happy Good News Friday and happy Father's Day. As we end the show for today, happy Friday, and a reminder to live your life with purpose. And as usual, I'd like to leave you with a little quote that I came across by, I don't know if you know this site, it's called Goodreads. If you go, it's amazing. If you're a literary nerd like I am, you can find the most amazing, insightful quotes. So something that I would have come across, it says, a room without books is like a body without a soul. A room without books is like a body without a soul. And that is by Marcus Tullius Cicero. Marcus Tullius Cicero, long gone, long time philosopher. So again, the quote is, a room without books is like a body without a soul. Again, I am a literary nerd. I love books. You should see my room. I have a whole bookshelf. I go to book clubs with my friends. I love books, and I'm sure if you listen to the show, you're probably somebody that really likes reading as well. So yeah, a room without books is like a body without a soul. That's so true. So true. We need books in this world. All right. So as always, remember that you can find us on YouTube or Facebook, where you can leave your comments, you can engage with us, you leave your suggestions, discussions, things that you want to see, people that you want to hear from. So engage with us on WESN CC on our YouTube, WESN TV on Facebook, and of course you can always WhatsApp us at 682-9376, 682-9376. So as Naomi would always say, stay safe, stay inspired, and of course stay tuned for Talking Point with Sean Michael Small coming up on the hour of 8 o'clock. I am Jenny McLeod, and I see you on a Monday morning.
WESN.
Low energy? Heart concerns? Migraines slowing you down? It's time to take control of your health. Join Wellness Unlocked, the series that brings expert advice and real solutions for a healthier you. In our latest episode, learn how Jameson CoQ10 can help support heart health, boost energy, and even reduce migraines. Get the science, the stories, and the steps to power up your health with CoQ10. Don't miss Wellness Unlocked. Watch now on WESN and start your wellness journey today.
My name is Dr. Stephen Carroll, the CEO at Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist, and we are committed to making good private health care affordable.
For all your medical needs, including dental, radiology, laparoscopy, behavioral and mental health, along with many other services, contact us for more information at 235-5479.
Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist.
where good private health care is affordable.
Maybe he landed here totally by coincidence. But if by chance he's admiring your fresh coat of Benjamin Moore soft sky blue, well, that's a pretty high compliment. Coming from an expert.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time